When we do the show every week, we usually talk a little bit about, talk about some games, and we talk about the news and kind of that kind of shit. But gotta tell you, this week we're almost ignoring the news here on Dense Pixels. Welcome, I'm your host Brad, joined by my co-host Micah.
Hey yo,
and that is because we're going to talk about experiences playing video games. A particular video game, mostly, but other video games as well. And so, 2 weeks ago, sorry we didn't have a show last week, but I'm kind of glad we didn't because it's given Micah time to, to really get into things. 2 weeks ago, Micah's FOMO struck him, hearing me jubilantly praise Elden Ring. He had to literally buy it on the show. And Micah was kind of radio silent for most of the week. So I was curious to see how he was taking things in this game that he wasn't sure if he wanted to play. And then on March 10th, at approximately 4:49 p.m. Standard time, because it was before daylight savings, before the clocks moved, Micah sends a message to our group chat that we have, where he just says "fuck," and it's a screenshot of him dying with Margit the Fell Omen only having 2 hits left in their health bar. And I was like, that's when I knew that Micah was good to go in Elden Ring.
Yeah. So my Elden Ring journey is I bought it on the show, but I didn't play it immediately because I was still in the middle of a Cyberpunk replay, and after the 1.5 patch, I wanted to see how things shaked out. I don't hate that game, but it's fun to dunk on that game because of everything that happened. But I don't hate that game. Boy, is it just a tale of two different types of the same type of game. I was playing Cyberpunk, and it's you look at that map, and it's points of interest, things to this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, or it's them telling you, hey, go to this thing because this is where the fun is. Go here because this is where the fun is. Go over there because this is where the fun is. And then that fun is subjective, right? Go over here and shoot somebody in the face and then walk away. That's not necessarily fun, but it all depends. Then I started Elden Ring. Hey, you know me, I'm Bill Weeb, right? So I pick a samurai. I pick a samurai, right? And I spend an hour making my character. The only black hair choice they have, other than crew cut and bald, is nappy headed. But you know what? I picked the nappy headed hairstyle for my black dude. Gave him a bum eye, gave him an eye patch. Got the flesh tone the way I wanted it. The character creator is robust, especially for a character that's pretty much just going to be in armor all day.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I spent a fair amount of time on mine, and I picked the Confessor, and I've spent the game either in the Confessor's hood that he starts with, which completely obscures the character unless you spin the camera around during a cutscene, or I got an Imp Cat helmet early in the game that has super high defense, but it completely encloses my entire head with an imp visage. So
I get in. I completely bypassed the tutorial. I did not know there was a tutorial.
As did I, because you saw the messages on the ground that's trust and jump down here. That seems like a terrible idea.
Yeah, exactly. No.
This seems like a lie.
Liar ahead. And so I go out into the open world, and I don't know what I'm doing because the controls are weird. It's, the samurai starts out with a katana and a bow, and it took me a minute to try and figure out what's going on, and then and this is past the first unbeatable boss, right? This is out onto the steps, or the first step where the tree sentinel is. I'm like, that thing looks really big and it looks like it's gonna kill me, but like, in for a penny, in for a pound. Let's fucking go, right? And then bam, one shot it. And I'm just like, wow, dude. So I'm going around and I'm trying to make my way and I'm not having a good time. And I'm fighting smaller enemies, but like I'm having trouble figuring out what to do. And I'm like, I'm not having a good time. So I go back to playing Cyberpunk, and then I'm like, man, Larry, let me try this thing out one more time. I pick a confessor, and the confessor starts with a sword and a shield.
Hmm.
And now I actually do the tutorial, right? Like I actually trust the messages, and I actually like, oh, there's a tutorial here. Oh, this is how you block. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. Oh, this is a special button. Okay, and I'm playing and I'm like, okay, I kind of get how to block. I kind of get like how to do certain moves. Let me try back to this samurai again because like the weeb in me really wants to be a samurai, right? I really want to be a samurai, right? So I said, all right, let me go back. Let me just equip a shield and just like not use the bow for a while until I get the hang of the combat, right? And then it clicks. And how to play the game is it just it's one of those it's like a baby learning things like in the world, how to maneuver yourself in the world. And I get it. I see why people are saying that this is brilliant because it's an experience that the only other time I've had an experience like this is when I was playing those Final Fantasy MMOs where you didn't know anything and you got to kind of do your research to figure shit out and like they don't even give you a map, they don't give you a map, you got to find the map, and then I get the hang of it and then I'm killing more enemies and then I'm dying a lot, like I'm dying a lot, and then I find like I'm on Fextra Life, right? And I'm looking at all the different builds, and I'm like, well, there's a samurai build that I wanna. That's my goal, right? I want to
Hmm.
get this veil katana, and I want to be this type of like magical samurai. And it's a goal that I set for myself that I was able to accomplish. And yeah, man, 32 hours and 68 levels later, I'm in love with this game, man.
Oh, you've
I'm
even
in love.
exceeded me in playtime and progress so far. As far as leveling up, I don't know where you are in the game as far as doing stuff.
I'm on the Atlas Plateau.
Okay, so you're further than me then, because I just got to Ray Lucaria, but I didn't want to do that dungeon yet, so like I'm just fucking around in Lemuria right now.
Okay. I wanted to get through Rhea Lucaria because that's where you respec.
Right, right, right.
And look, I'm terrible at games, guys. I'm terrible at games, especially now. There's no shame in my game when I say that I had to call on help for some of these bosses.
Oh, there's
I
no
just
shame
did.
at all. I mean, again, it's part of the game. Like it's there for a reason. Like you shouldn't have to like that's people that are like Souls veterans that are really good. Like, oh no, you got to solo each battle, and like even Summering Spirit Ashes is bullshit. I'm like, no, like
No,
I want to
fuck
make
you.
progress in the game. I'm not trying to fucking hurdle myself, into these giant bosses. Like I tried
Right.
Godric by myself a couple times. Like I was like, see, let's see what I can do, just me. And it wasn't going that great. Like basically like the best fight that I had against Godric solo, like I got him to his second phase. And so
Right.
I was like, I'm having a good time. Like it's fun. I'm not frustrated. Like I'm just like, man, like he's really tough. Maybe I don't know if I was under leveled. I was like level 32 or something like that when I took on Godric. But I was like, let me just get a summon in here. Like let me just get someone a cooperator offline to come in and just help fucking wreck house in this dude. And it's fun.
Yeah, man, it really is. And I got to tell you, man, like I felt a real sense of accomplishment when I got my Moonveil katana because like you have to solo a dragon. Like you don't have to solo it,
Hmm.
but like but that particular dragon isn't like a main boss, so there's not a lot of like cooperators like just kind of waiting for you. So I had to go in there and solo it. And it's not a terrible, like it's not a terribly hard fight, but I felt a real sense of accomplishment killing it. You know what I mean? And like I was like, fuck yes, I got my fucking katana, man. And and then I'm on Extra Life and I'm looking at the Moonveil Katana build that he has, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty awesome. And it's like, well, you got to get these three things too. And I'm like, fuck, I got to get these three things too. And I went, but like that was like it I set my own goals, and I everything that all of these companies um claim their open world game is like, oh, you can do this, you can do that. It's not though.
Mhm.
Like with those games, it's very much not even a carrot on a stick. It's hand holding with a carrot on a stick, and that's fine. That's fine, right? Especially if you have like a very focused story that you're trying to tell. But this is one of the very few games that I jump in, and this is a true open world game to me. And there are places that I am discovering. There are enemies that, and now I'm strong enough that I'm not afraid to like fight people.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think one of the worst things I could have done as a new Souls player is to start the game with the shield, because I feel like that if you don't know how to play these games, you probably over rely on the shield too much, and
yeah,
you kind of use it too frequently. And I think it took me a long time to figure out like you got to be a little more aggressive during big enemies. Like instead of like taking your shield out, like why don't you just two hand your weapon and do more
yep,
damage and just dodge and
that's
shit
it.
like that, and start doing that kind of stuff. Once
And
I figured that out, like I feel like I'm gaining levels quicker, because I felt like gaining levels was pretty slow going, or
yeah,
early on for me at least. But now that I've taken a little bit more of an offensive tact, um, it's been working out pretty well. And I'm also building around like I'm not following any build guides right now. Like I'll wait till I get to till I beat Ray Lucaria so I can respec and kind of like dump points in the way I want to. I did find the Bloodhound Fang, which is a curved greatsword, which has been pretty fucking fun to use. And I'm using like a shitload of incantations right now,
yeah,
which are pretty fun.
yeah, man. It's great. It's great. Like I can't believe it, right? Like I was worried that it would be like overhyped, right? Because this
Mhm.
game is getting universal acclaim, and I'm like, yo, nothing is that good, right? Like nothing is a masterpiece. Nah, yo, this pretty much is, man. Like I feel like I'm growing at a rate that like I it's one of the few games that I actually feel like I am naturally getting stronger instead of just like I don't know, because you can grind and you can farm runes. That's another thing, like I was not used to there being one economy, like one source of
Mhm.
currency for literally everything. And the fact that you can lose it, which is like another MMO thing. Like if you die, you essentially lose experience.
Mhm.
Especially Final Fantasy, you had to kind of I can't remember if you had to if you lost it and then like had to kill the same thing to get it back. But yeah, man, it's this is pretty great. Like it almost makes me want to go back and see what those other Souls games are like. But I feel
Oh,
like I feel like I wouldn't enjoy them as much because of like I've never played them, but I assume that they're mostly like levels
mhm.
and not necessarily like I have the freedom to run away when I'm getting my ass kicked and in this game. And yeah, I don't know. I might go back and play a couple of them.
I'm probably
But
at least going to check out Bloodborne at some point after I'm done messing around with this, because that's the one that's like the de facto people say is the best one to play.
which one was the one that was released on PS5?
That was
Was it Demon
that was
Souls?
Demon Souls. That was Demon Souls.
Demon Souls.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, man. I so my thing is I don't really know about armor, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm trying to I can't equip heavy stuff, right? Because if you
Hmm.
equip heavy stuff, you have a heavy load, which makes your dodging worse, and if you max it, you can become encumbered, so you can't do anything. So I'm carrying a max medium load, but like I still take I when I take a hit, I take a fucking hit, man. And it is like I gotta see if there's something out there that I can kind of keep a max medium load, but at the same time, like I'm carrying a staff. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? I'm carrying a katana and a staff. Um, I had to drop my bow, and I had to learn a couple spells just for like ranged stuff. But yeah, man, I can't sing the praises of this game enough, man. Like I have been obsessed with playing this game.
And it's funny
Uh,
because like even though because the story is told the way it's told, like very loosely and through small dialogue choices and through items in the game and stuff like that, like you can kind of talk about stuff that's in the game and it's not really spoilery. Like
yeah.
you can talk about encounters that you've had and stuff like that. Did you meet the Pope Turtle, Micah?
Yes, I did.
when I first
I bought the great sword from her. Yeah.
when I first walked in there, like I thought there was like I was like, why is there a Pope hat on a rock? And then like it's like, oh, you could talk to
Right.
the Pope hat. I'm like, oh, it's Turtle. I was like, it's a Pope
I
Turtle.
was like, "What the hell is this thing?" I'm like, I'm not getting near that thing, man. I'm not getting near that. Like that's big things I need to assess, what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like I'm on these wikis and I'm like, all right, well, how do I need somber smithing stones to upgrade this particular katana. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, yo, I want to be able to carry any katana, right? Like right now, my spec before was like heavy dex and
Hmm.
then like dex 1 strength 2, and I can hold like a couple of different types of katana because my strength was high enough. But because I have a magic sword, now I have to like up my intelligence more, but I can't carry my other katanas because which means I can carry them, but I can't do the special ability that they have, the Ashes of War. And I like some of them, man. Like I like the dex build I had going, but I also like this magic katana build that I have going. So the goal is to eventually combine the two of those, but that is a long road to hoe, given the way experience works.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because you're
and
probably I mean you're probably at a point where you need like 25,000 runes to just to
I
level
need
up right now.
27,000 runes to level up once,
Yeah.
and I'm at the point where like I'm hitting soft caps, so some of these things aren't really um, doing a lot.
Hmm.
My vigor is up to 40, and I think that's like the first or the second soft cap. And putting any more in towards the other soft cap would only get me like 15 extra health, and I'm like, all right, well, that's no good. Um, so I got to figure out what I'm at a soft cap for vigor. I'm at a soft cap for intelligence, and I don't think I'm at a soft cap for dex, but I don't think I really need dex with this particular katana, but I might want to put them in there. So anyway, it's a lot. It's a lot of fucking runes, man. And like my little farming location in what is this? Where is this place? The red section on the map.
Oh, the
Um
Cairn or whatever it's called, or Khalid or
yeah,
Khalid.
Kaled. Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's a farming section that I go to when I just need like some quick runes, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Or if I'm like at a level cap and I need to like get like 10,000 runes really quickly, I can do a couple of runs in this farming area. But but I don't want to like that's a huge investment now, man.
Hmm.
It's a really really big investment.
I
Um
mean, so you know how the weapons work, right? Because it took me a little bit to figure out how the weapons use your stats in the game, or how your armaments use your stats in the game.
So, from what I understand, the weapons have a scaling
Hmm.
like letter grade,
Yes.
and and depending on what your stats are versus that particular weapon. Like my one katana, I was doing, I was one shotting these things with like 10. at like 1046, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that was my dex katana. My dex was at 30, and that was the thing. But the scaling was at like a D,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now I'm one-shotting those things at like 1476 with my magic katana, but my intelligence is at a 30, but the scaling is a C.
Mm-hmm.
So it's doing more damage, even though the base damage is less than my
Right,
Nagakiba
because your
katana.
bonus damage is higher. Like it
Right.
took me forever to figure out like what the base number and then what that plus number was next to it. Like it took me a while to figure
Yeah.
that plus number was actually what you were getting extra based on how the weapon scaled.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that is the one thing is that they don't do a lot to teach you how to play, like what's going on in the
No,
game
they
as far as
don't.
like the systems. So like Micah said, like don't be afraid to look at guides and stuff like that, at least to get like a baseline understanding of what it is that you're doing, so that when you put an Ashes of War on your weapon, or if you're deciding to choose one weapon over the other for specific encounters, that you understand like how that's working essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, I've continued to have just a really good time playing it, like even just fucking around. Like before we got on the show today, like I had 45 minutes to kill. I'm like, I probably can't do much in 45 minutes. No, there's quite a bit I could do. Like I found a ruin and got some fucking items, and found another NPC, advanced their side quest line, gained a couple levels, came across some enemies that I'd never seen before. Got my arcane high enough that I could equip an incantation that just blows fucking like dragon breath in front of me for 30 feet and fucking cooks everything. I'm like, that's pretty cool. So yeah, like a lot can be done in this game in a very short amount of time. Like I walked in this village, and all of a sudden there's like this fucking Eye of Sauron that's driving me mad. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like like shit just happens in this game, and you don't know what the hell is happening. And that's a lot of fun.
It is, man. The checkpoint system. Checkpoints aren't too far away. You know what I mean? Sites of grace, or what they call it in game. They're not too far away. Which is appreciated. Yeah, man. You feel this game gives you a good feeling of accomplishment when you're able to like take something down, especially because everything is fucking huge, man. Everything is huge, and damn near everything wants to kill you.
Yeah. So I walked into the study hall in Lemuria, just to kind of explore, because I happened upon it. So I'm like, oh, let's see what's going on here. So like, they had this one encounter like pretty early on where this I think it's like a invading NPC essentially, because that's the kind of how their health bars is situated. Where like I was fighting these other fucking ads, and this thing like hit me with a like a spectral, like a glintstone arrow, and like chunked half my health. And I, died pretty quickly. So I'm just like, all right, so let me go back in here. Let me rush down that guy first, because if he's gonna fucking shoot magic arrows at me, like I'm gonna need to get rid of him in a hurry. So I rushed him down first. Motherfucker pulls out like a magic sword and two shots me, basically. Just, like killed me a couple times. So I'm just like, all right, clearly I'm not supposed to be here yet. I think this is the pathway to the Divine Tower for this region, so I don't even need to be here until I get a great soul. So like maybe I'll just gain some levels and I'll do the academy, and then once I have that great soul, I can come back and do what I got to do in this fucking place.
Yeah, man.
But I don't mind that. Like it doesn't upset me. Like it's just like, oh, like fucking that sucks. Like there was a cavern that I was exploring where the boss room didn't have the mist preceding it. Like you just kind of wandered in there. And so like I wandered into this room, and like all of a sudden this boss health bar is on the screen. I'm like, oh no, what the hell's going on? Got the jump on me, the bastard. I got him back though. So it worked out okay. But like stuff like that, like normally like that kind of shit would piss you off. But like in this game, I guess because you kind of expect it to happen, you don't mind it so much. And it's one of the only games where like when jank happens, it's actually kind of like a feature, not a bug. Like when an enemy gets like stuck in like in between something, and you can just like wail away on it without fear of reprisal. Like that's actually kind of fun. I've sat on cliff sides and use that shitty like periscope that you get a couple of times, and then I've been so haste to put it away back in my inventory, like I'm jamming circle So like I'll put it away and then like rush off of the fucking cliff like to my death, and it just like fucking Elden Ring, like you fucking game. But like
I
shit
bought
like
that
that like
thing.
hasn't bothered me.
I bought that damn telescope. Haven't used it once.
Yeah, I was told out there they're like, oh, this is like a must buy item. I'm like, all right, let me get this fucking thing. And so and like you get it, it like zooms in like by 0.5. I'm just like, this is fucking useless. Like what the hell?
Like, come on, Santa, you beat me for 3,000 runes, man.
Yeah, it's just so stupid. Like I could use that level that I gave up to get this fucking thing. No, it's very fun. Very fun.
I'm still trying to, now that I'm up at a new location, I'm trying to open up. I'm kind of at an impasse in what to do. Also, one thing that I didn't know, I'm sure most Souls players know, you don't have to fight everything, because if you fight everything,
Oh
you're
no.
die.
Yeah. No, I figured that out very quickly. So
So I'm trying to open up some of the map. I'm at an impasse. Like I'm close to the big tree, but according to this map, but there's a blocked passageway, and I got to figure out what to do. So, but there's a whole nother region that's like in a volcano that I'm gonna try and unlock, at least unlock the map for, and see what's in there first. Because I don't necessarily want to just kind of blaze through the story.
yeah.
But yeah, man, this game is something else, man. Like I can't believe how much I'm truly into it.
Yeah.
And,
It's just got a way of kind of engrossing you and hooking you in. Again, very much in the same way that Zelda did, where it's just kind of fun to wander around and explore new areas, and you know your curiosity gets the better of you, but you're also like fucking terrified at the same time because you know it's a From game. Like I'm constantly like, if I'm in a cave or you know a dungeon of some kind, I'm usually walking around corners with my shield up because you never know if there's gonna be someone around the other side.
yeah,
You know, like the Stormvale Castle was the first main dungeon the only like what they call legacy dungeon that I've done. And that was fucking cool because that had like very distinct different areas and kind of levels within it that you can sort of play through. I haven't even done any of the optional bosses in there yet. I had to cheese the fucking scarab that you fight at the beginning of the game because that thing was tearing me up. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to sit up here and I'm just going to fucking shoot arrows at this thing and murder it to death. And that's fine because any way forward in these games is the right way forward.
Yep. Look, there is no shame in calling for help and running away and cheesing enemies and nothing. There's no shame in it. Yeah, man. I met a couple of these NPCs and it's like you can fight them if you want. I'm not going to because I think you kind of kill quests.
You can, but you can also, if you accidentally aggro one of them, you can. There's an item you can turn in at the Church of Vows to kind of reset their aggro if you accidentally fuck up. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So in case that does happen, you're good to go there.
Yeah, man. I've just been going around trying to collect katanas and collect weapons.
Or the arsenal.
Yeah, man, and it's like I want to be able to I don't know if I want to dual wield katanas because that's like very heavy, and my build is meant on like not getting hit as opposed to like taking one hit and then giving it back. Although I do have like a Sephiroth sword. It's like really really long, and I found this Ash of War that is just a monster of an Ash of War. Like you sacrifice a little bit of health to deal like tremendous damage, to deal like one tremendous charge swing that'll take out one of those fucking big ass bears.
The fucking rune bears! Fuck those bears! I fucking hate those things. when I stumble upon them, like because they're fast, like they can catch up to me even when I'm sprinting on the horse.
They'll catch you and bear hug you like it's fucking god.
Like I was just wandering in Lemuria and I came across like regular bears, which I can two-shot. I'm like, all right, cool, fuck these bears. And then like I turn the corner and there's a giant rune bear there. I'm like, nope. Fuck out of here. Not now.
One of them, I was fucking around and just kind of like being a bully and just killing like those little zombie guys, like the
Hmm.
the the regular zombie
Oh,
ones that I
I know
find in the
exactly. I
middle.
know exactly what you're talking about.
And one of them
I know
turned into a
exactly what you're
fucking
talking
bear.
about. Yeah.
Jesus Christ! One of them turned into a bear, and then I caught aggro from a dude on horseback, so I had to fight both of them at the same time. I'm like, come on, man! Like this is fucking. But this is like that random ass gameplay that people who other companies who make games swear up and down like, well, look, this just totally happened, and like, no, it was scripted. Like, it was obviously scripted. No, this shit wasn't. This shit absolutely wasn't. I just happened to have bad luck. And but yeah, man, I fucking love it.
Yeah, it's like I said, we're gonna be playing this for a while. I can foresee, and like it's one of those games that I'm kind of excited, even when I'm done, going through the campaign, to go through a new game plus with a completely different character and try just different ways to play and different styles and really like lean into one build or another. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I didn't want to be a warrior or anything like that,
mm,
but it feels like uh, those types of classes, either like all melee or all range, like all magic, not even all range, all melee or all magic, feels like what the game is kind of nudging you toward. Like hybrid builds, like dex builds, they aren't necessarily, it doesn't feel like the game is uh meant for people to kind of do. Like, yes and no, just because of the way, like all the armor that you can buy, or
mhm.
all the armor that you get off of bosses, and then you can buy from Two Fingers, the finger reader. It's either like you fight a bunch of like really powerful tanky bosses, or you fight like super like powerful mage bosses, and those are the pieces of armor that you get. And so I that's why I wanted to try something a little different. Um, but I've seen videos of people who are like mages who just like, I mean, but that's like super end game stuff.
Yeah,
But they're just like fucking annihilating people. It's just like, Jesus
like
Christ.
bosses too.
Right.
Yeah. Like the ones going around that like you can basically get like the fucking Kamehameha and just fucking just fucking go
Right.
like go to town on like the early game bosses and shit like that. So, but yeah, I'm so glad that you got into it. Someone asked in the post office if we were fucking around with co-op. Not yet, but I could definitely see that happening at some point if we can.
Look, I was desperate to get that Moonveil katana, and I was that fucking dragon. It was a magma worm,
Mhm.
and it was frustrating me. I was like, I wonder, I you weren't on. If you were on, I was gonna ask you to come to this place to help me kill this fucking
I
thing.
don't know if I would have been of much help to you because I don't know how I don't know how the game does scaling, or if it even does do scaling at all
Oh
in
yeah,
there. So
yeah.
yeah, because I'm a little under where you are right now. I'm like level 43 or something like that on my character. So
Plus, a lot of my time was just grinding out levels too. Like,
yeah,
I just like, and to kind of get the feel, like, I killed that sleeping dragon that gives you 80,000 or 75,000 runes for killing a sleeping mother, and that helped a ton. And I'll spend just like I'll spend like an hour just kind of grinding out levels or grinding for runes,
is
just kind of.
this the Glintstone dragon?
No, this is a dragon in Kaled, man. It's a
Oh,
it's a it's a big white dragon that's surrounded by baby dragons. But if you go to like the backside of her,
mm-hmm.
like, she's still sleeping. The babies won't come around, and you can just whack on the thing until it dies, and you get 75,000 runes.
It's a lot of runes.
That's a lot of runes.
Yeah, I was getting ready to fight that Glintstone dragon that has the key, the Glintstone key behind him, and then I was like, all right, see if we can take this on. That didn't go too well, so I'm like, you know what? I'll get the key, sneak out of here, We'll come back
Yeah,
later.
yeah, that's all I did. I was
Yeah.
like, no, I don't need this right now. I just want to get in here. I want to get in here and fight Rhea Lucaria or whatever the hell her name is. Um, um, to see about respecking and like there's a finite amount of times you can respect, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah. Well, it's contingent on having an item, right?
yeah, it's contingent on having an item, and there are a finite number of items in the world. So it's yeah, but there's enough that you can kind of, you just got to work to get them.
Hmm.
Like that's the thing. Like you can't buy them. You gotta. That rune bear dropped one, so it's that's how I was able to do it. But yeah, man, like I can't wait to start playing this game again. I just fucking loved it, man.
Yeah. Like I said, I found as much excitement playing Elden Ring as I have watching people play and talk about and reading about Elden Ring. So, and it's been very cool, but very cool experience so far. I'm enjoying video games very much in general right now, and I'll tell you about the other game I'm enjoying after Micah sells some shit.
Go to densepixel.com/fans. Brad mentioned the post office. Well, when you go to densepixel.com/fans, you could drop us a line in that post office and we will talk about it. We will answer your question. We will shout you out. Um, Go to densepixel.com/fans. Go to youtube.com/densepixels and subscribe. Click the bell icon. Click the like button. Click the like button. Do they have dislike buttons, like
It
thumbs
do,
down
it
buttons?
does have a dislike button, but it doesn't show you how many people clicked it, or it doesn't
Ah,
show outward people. We can still see it.
okay, okay. Well, don't click the dislike button, but even if you do, it's still engagement and it still helps us. But click the like button at youtube.com/densepixels. Subscribe to all of the podcasts that we are associated with, wherever you get your podcasts, including the Nerd Apocalypse, Black on Black Cinema. We just did an episode on Lakeview Terrace, a god awful movie starring a pretty fun actor in Samuel L. Jackson. Um, Coming distractions, we have a spoiler discussion of The Batman up there, and the weekly preview episode of the Look Forward Political Podcast. Then go to densepixels.com/premium and sign up for $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You get access to the premium slate of podcasts, including the airing of grievances, No Time to Bleed, The Men with the Golden Tongues, Upstage Conversations, and the full episode of the Look Forward Political Podcast. There's a lot of things going on in politics, and Brad and Jay and sometimes Andy do a pretty fun job of ranting and raving about it.
Yeah, there's a
Dentrixels.com/premium.
literal war going on that we'll talk about a little bit later in this show. However, Micah, racing is in the air. F1 season starts this weekend. Coming up, Drive to Survive is out on Netflix. I've already watched the entire fourth season.
I haven't started yet. I am going to start that this week.
I'm very excited for you to check it out. And a little game called Gran Turismo 7 came out just a couple of weeks ago. And that's why I haven't been playing maybe as much Elden Ring as I might like to, because I've put about 20 hours as well into GT7. And this is one of the most earnest video games that I think I've ever played in my life in many ways. So the thing with GT7 is this is the first like numbered Gran Turismo that's come out in a little more than 7 years. The last one came out was 2013, and it came out on the PS3 after the PS4 released. So it was kind of got missed. But the folks who make these games like really take their time on them and really like cars, and not like car culture. Like they are very clearly infatuated with just cars as machines and like their beauty and their history and how cool like the technological innovations are and stuff like that. And this whole game in the single player so far is like an ode to the car and everything that's great about fucking cars. And so like as you go through, like you're doing the normal Gran Turismo stuff where you're like doing the license challenges and you're unlocking new circuits to race on and you're getting new cars and unlocking stuff and getting progressively better and faster and more powerful cars to drive on, tougher courses as you go. And the way that they handle progression in this game is that in the little Gran Turismo town that every GT game has, there's a cafe in the dead center, which is kind of like the central hub. And there's an unusually well-informed barista that works at the cafe named Luca, who really wants to set you on your car collecting journey in Gran Turismo. So when you go to the cafe, he gives you like a menu book, and the menu book is always like themed, like, hey, collect these 3 Toyota Supras. So and when you come back, I'll learn you something about the history of the Toyota Supra. Or like it's like, hey, like collect these like 3 Japanese like hot hatches, like these racing hatchbacks that are really popular throughout history, and I'll give you some insight onto those when you do it. And so like he gives you a menu, and to get these cars, you usually have to go compete in races. And if you place in the race, then you get the car as a gift, and it fills out your menu book. Or you can go buy the car from either the used car area or the brand central that they have in the game, which is where you get all the new cars. And each area has like people that work there that are these little like chat bubbles that pop up on the screen, and they have a face, and they're just like, oh, I'm so excited to tell you about all the stuff that, with this car, and this car has so much history. If you want to learn more about it, I can tell you. And each car has like a little like 3-paragraph blurb just like talking about the history of the car and the innovations that are in there. And like the guy in the tuning shop, like he's like, hey, if you need to know what a part does, like I'll teach you about how it works and this, that, or the other thing. And so, you go through, you're collecting cars. Once you fill out a menu book, you go back to the cafe, and Luke gives you a nice like like this nice scripted snapshot of these cars that you collected, and he's like, come back and I'll tell you about the cars, and he gives you a nice little 2-minute history lesson about the cars that you just collected. And sometimes there's other people just hanging out in the cafe. Like there's this old man where he's like, I can't remember his name, but like you can go up to him and, and he'll be like, oh, like, let me tell you even more things about this car that you're driving right now. Like it's so cool and this, that, or the other thing. And sometimes like there's like famous car designers like that design some of these cars that are just hanging out in the cafe that you can talk to. But everything's like, it's very corny. But because it's like such a like it feels so Japanese, like it actually feels quite like I said earlier, it feels quite earnest as you go along. Obviously, like the tuning, like the tuning is where the game lives, because, and this is kind of weird for me because I haven't played a proper Gran Turismo in a very long time. The last GT I played was Sport, which came out on PS4, and GT Sport, like when you get a car, all the tuning options are already unlocked. Like you can do whatever you want to that car straight out of the gate. But in regular Gran Turismo, like when you buy it, you're buying it from as the factory version, essentially. And so if you want to upgrade it and be able to change like the settings on the car and stuff like that, you have to buy the upgrades for it. And, which costs in-game money as you go. And so to like start, like the game definitely runs you into walls at some point. Like there's definitely some progress walls that you run into. Where if you aren't, a great racer, or if you're not allocating your money wisely, or if you're buying too many cars and not spending enough time and money tuning the cars that you're getting, you might have to like grind races just to get credits so you can buy like tuning parts to upgrade those so you can advance in the single player. Which is fine. Like I said, I don't mind that at all. And I've definitely gotten to the point where the races, like, when you first start, like it's easy to win the races they put in front of you, and occasionally you have these like little short tournaments or cups that you race in, where you race in a number of consecutive races, and they're pretty easy. And then once you start like getting the higher performance cars, like once you start getting to like the 500 600 PV range, then things start to get a little more challenging, and you actually have to race a little bit, which is good because the license tests do a good job of obviously explaining the proper racing technique to you so that you can do well in these tracks. But there's some that I've had, like the Porsche events that you had to do to collect Porsches. I hate driving Porsches in these games because they're rear wheel drive and the engine's in the back of the car as well. So like if you're a little heavy on the accelerator, the car is just going to immediately
Yeah,
spin
you're
on
just
you.
gonna spin.
Yeah, so and that's not really my jam. So like I bought a Porsche too to buy that some of the events. As far as like the improvement to the systems in the game, everything feels really good to drive. It like the cars feel noticeably different from one another. The you feel the upgrades like as you upgrade the car and get higher performing parts in there and start adjusting the settings. Like you really do feel it in how the car handles, especially if you're using a wheel when you're playing the game. They also added a lot of cool track effects in the game. The big one is they have dynamic weather in the game, so like the weather will change as you're going through the race, or like the day-night cycle will change as you're going through the race. And the way they handle wet weather in the game is really one of the better ones that I've ever seen because it doesn't feel like a toggle switch. Like it does feel progressively like things get progressively harder the heavier it rains. And it like much like things do in real life, like it actually does like as the cars go through the track, there is a racing line that gets created that is dry because all the cars are driving over it. So it really behooves you to follow that line as best as you can. Otherwise, you're gonna lose traction. And they have like this little grip meter next to the tires, so you can see like how much grip the car has. And it's like as things get as the rain gets heavier, you'll see that grip meter start to creep up, and the higher it creeps, the less grip the tires have, to the point where like if it gets in this top quadrant, you're basically just hydroplaning at that at that point. So you have to watch out. Game's gorgeous, like a huge upgrade over GT Sport. The only like kind of a bummer is that most of the tracks and a lot of the cars that they have in the game were in Sport, so like I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the stuff that's in here already. But the fact that they do have like the day-night cycles and the different weather and things of that nature does make it feel very fresh. But I'm having a really fucking good time, and I haven't even gone online with this yet. Like I haven't even raced anyone in any of the online modes. I've just been doing the single player and having a really fun time. I have like 100 cars in my garage right now. The only downer that people were quick to point out is they do have a really gross microtransaction part of the game where you can basically like buy credits, which are the in-game currency that you use to do stuff in the game. But the ratios are really fucked up to the point where like if you're trying to buy a specific car that costs like 3 million credits, it would cost you like 40 real world dollars to buy that car, which is insane.
Yeah, come on.
But that being said, like you can earn credits pretty readily in this game if you're willing to do the correct events, and they also gift you a lot of cars too. So that's the other thing, is that you know they give you a lot, and they'll at least give you one car for each like style of race that's in the game. So like so that you don't have to buy, like if you want a supercar, like that's fine to get it, but they'll give you something basic that you can at least participate in those modes without having to, you know, open your wallet up again for this $70 game. But it's awesome. I'm going to be playing this for years and years and years and years. Like it's been a really good time. I don't know how long the campaign mode is. I feel like it's long because there's 5 licenses, and they do gate you at some points during the campaign where you need to acquire like the next license to go do this next course essentially. And I'm only up to like where they've required the second license out of 5. So like I've done like 40 of these menu books. So far, each of which has like 3 cars that you have to acquire to be able to progress it. So a lot to do. Like it is a proper fucking Gran Turismo, which a lot of people have been waiting a long time for.
Yeah, I last time I played a Gran Turismo was Gran Turismo 2, and I had all my progress erased by my little sister, and that just killed it.
I get it. Like it's a lot of time and energy. That's the cool thing with the new ones, is that everything's stored online. You know, it's like Destiny. Like you don't have to, and it's cool because like since I bought it on PS5, it's got the cross. You know, you can play it on either platform. So like I'll go downstairs. Like I don't like to race on the controller, but I will like design liveries and stuff like that if I'm just hanging out and don't really want to go racing. Like I can design some liveries on the car or my race suit, or I'll take like scapes, which are like the fancy photos that they have where, you know, they have these really high resolution, beautifully shot pictures of like real places in the world, and you can just kind of seamlessly insert your car into those pictures and fuck with the settings. It's really cool. Like it's a fun little thing to do in there as well. So
Awesome.
Good times. The other game I've been playing, a bit to my surprise, I've been playing a lot of this actually, is Puzzle Quest 3. That's right. I found my annual mobile game that sticks me in for several hours. Puzzle Quest is a RPG that's done through the guise of a match 3 duel game, essentially. Mm-hmm. And in this game, you pick a class, and each class has like 4. You'll eventually earn 4 spells, which are essentially abilities that you can equip, and each ability corresponds to a color of jewel. So as you're doing this match 3 game, you fight these enemies one-on-one, and you spend your turn matching up the jewels and trying to break as many of the jewels as you can. And not only does that do damage to the enemy, but it also powers up your magic spell. So once you've broken enough of those jewels, you can unleash the spell on the enemy, which is usually like a powerful attack. And that's kind of what what you're setting your build around, is these spells. And then you also have like all this different types of gear that you can equip. Like you have a body armor and gloves and a helmet and shield and weapon and all the typical tropes that you typically find in a fantasy role-playing game. And so you go through this story, and the story is there, and it's fine, I guess, but I'm pretty much skipping through it at this point just to get to the gameplay.
Play the game.
And they have a lot of they have the mobile game trappings where they have lots of different game modes. They have a online component, which is like you're playing against other players' heroes, essentially, not in real time. It just randomly pairs you with another player hero, and there's just an enemy that you fight against. They have different, you can do the dungeons over and over again to try to get loot and stuff like that. And that's the thing. Every time you complete a level, you get a treasure chest of some kind, and that'll have one of the 40 different currencies that exist in this game. like you'll get a few of those, and you can go through. I will say I am slightly impressed that I've played probably a good 6 hours or 7 hours of Puzzle Quest 3 so far, and I felt like I've gotten to do a lot of stuff, and I haven't spent any money yet. Like, the game's free to play, but it is constantly asking you, like, it's constantly holding its hand out to be like, hey, give us money for this, give us money for that. I think the prices are not well adjusted for what you're getting, knowing the speed at which certain things are earned in the game. So I would not encourage you to spend a shitload of money. Like, they have they have 2 different battle passes in this game, which is also ridiculous. So if you're going to throw the money, I would recommend probably doing the Quest Pass, which is their regular battle pass. They also have a VIP pass, which is the same cost. It's like $10 a month. And that just gets you like better quality of life features. Like, it gets you extra daily rewards. It lets you hold an extra chest. And the chests are the things, like, you have keys that you can get to open them right away. But if you don't have a key, then you have to, that's where the timer aspect comes into play, where it's like, oh, you can open this chest in 6 hours, or you can pay these gems or whatever to do this shit now. So what I would recommend is if you're curious to check out Puzzle Quest, it is a game that you have to go into, and when you play it, you say, I'm going to play this for 20 minutes to a half an hour, and that's all I'm going to play it today. If where you would get in trouble with that game is if you try to sit there and play it for hours at a time, because the game is just not equipped to have enough activities to let you do that. You really do want to just play it for 20 minutes, come back the next day, get your dailies, do your online multiplayer, get your, they have a daily deals section of the store where you can spend the in-game currency that you earn naturally to actually buy a lot of stuff to upgrade your weapons for a relatively good exchange ratio. But they refresh once a day, so you can go in there, you can do all that kind of stuff. I've been having a good time. It's a great play while you're doing something else type of thing. lots of
Yeah.
different ways. They have lots of different ways to play the game. It just, you have to walk into it knowing that it's a typical ass mobile game experience that's going to be
Yeah.
panhandling you constantly as you play, which is really
Yeah.
annoying. But
I'm surprised they don't do like I play Marvel Strike Force and they refresh items like 3 times a day and
oh,
like just to try.
you can pay in-game gems to refresh it faster if you want to. Like
You can do
other
that
than
in Marvel Strike Force
yeah.
also. Like it's like Jesus Christ, man. Like, like come on, man. God
Yeah.
damn. They have 2 battle passes for 2 separate things, but each one of those battle passes has 2 tiers. So essentially 4 battle passes. Like it's wild, man. It's wild. Don't put money. Look, if you want to put money into a mobile game, that's fine. It's your money. You do what you want. But like, please don't go broke doing it.
No, don't whale it. I like my thing with this game is I'm going to play it probably until I feel like I have to spend money to move forward, and then that's when I'll stop. Like I'm not gonna give them money to progress in the game. I might kick them $10 for a battle pass, but I just, like, when you look at what you get, I don't feel like it's worth it
Yeah.
for what you get. So
Yeah. I believe it because it never is. Marvel Strike Force tried to say, hey, for $10 you can get a costume of Emma Frost. Like, you better get the fuck out of my face. A costume for $10? You can get a character in a real game for $5.
yeah.
Get out of here. It's nonsense.
But Puzzle Quest 3 is fun.
swear.
Like I said, if you like the match 3 gameplay, it's a good time. You know, it's fun to collect the different things and make your builds and that kind of stuff. But you can run multiple characters. That's also not a bad deal as well. And you kind of honestly you kind of have to, because like what I usually find is to grind materials for my main character, I have to usually run multiple characters at lower levels.
You got mules?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a true RPG then in that sense.
Oh shit. Well, if you are looking to spend money for things that you don't need, go to densepixels.com/Amazon. When you go to densepixels.com/Amazon, you can get what you want at no additional cost, and you will be helping us out. It is the easiest way to help us. I just bought a zester because I'm doing more cooking and I need a lemon zester, and I zested my pinky.
That's hilarious. We have a zester as well. I've never seen my wife use it so forcefully to have injured herself.
So if you want to pretend that you're a chef and then immediately be humbled by a kitchen utensil, go to densepixels.com/Amazon.
There's a few games that have come out this week. First of all, GTA 5 and GTA Online is coming out the next generation consoles. Apparently, also GTA Online being offered as a separate game for the first time. And I think on PlayStation, it's free to download for like 3 months, and like you'll keep it forever if you download it within this time period. I hear like character importing is not working right now though, which seems bad.
Yeah, what's the point
for this game that's been around for 9 years at this point? But look, I mean, they've done a great job supporting GTA 5, and it's making them a shitload of money every single year. So I would imagine that they're going to do the same here. Tunic is a cute, like fox, like little animal fox Zelda top-down style game that people seem to be pretty jazzed about. And that's coming to PC and Xbox. So that means I might have to fire up my Game Pass subscription again to check that out. Curious Expedition 2 comes to PlayStation and Xbox, along with some DLC for that game, which is also coming to Switch, which I believe the game is already available for. Dark Deity comes to Nintendo Switch. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax comes to PC, PS4, and Switch. Star Tenders comes to virtual reality consoles. This Means Warp comes to PC. WRC 10 comes to Nintendo Switch. Royal Frontier comes to all platforms. And Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin comes to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Micah, are you excited for Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin?
I am not. I can't look, I understand that I've played the original Final Fantasy. There's not much story there. But it's serviceable, right? It gets you to where you need to go, right? In terms of like JRPGs. I cannot imagine a gritty retelling of the original Final Fantasy from the Team Ninja people. Like I just can't. I can't. It doesn't do anything for me.
Apparently,
Plus,
it
that
can't be
game looks
worse
fucking.
than.
It looks butt ugly. Also, like
Apparently,
it
it can't
just
be
looks
worse than Babylon's Fall is, which has been shit on mercilessly by everybody when it came out last week. I feel like so. Like, remember how I joked that like we shouldn't talk about Games with Gold anymore because it's bullshit, and we should talk about Game Pass instead. Well, let's talk about what's coming to Game Pass for the rest of this month if you have an Xbox. So, Shredders comes out March 17th, along with the Dungeon of Nailbuck, the Amulet of Chaos.
What?
Tainted Grail Conquest comes out on March 22nd, along with Zero Escape, the Nonary games. So if you're into those interactive storytelling games, Carrie has said that the Zero Escape series is very good. So check those out. Norco comes out as well in March 24th, along with F1 2021, which is coming to EA Play on March 24th. Crusader Kings 3 is coming console on March 29th, and then Weird West is coming out on March 31st to console and PC. This one is from one of the former leads at Arcane, who left to make his own studio, and actually looks pretty cool. I'm actually quite interested in checking out Weird West at some point, so got my eye on that one. So we would be remiss if we did not spend a little bit of time talking about the bad guy, talking about Scott Hall, who unfortunately passed away after complications from hip surgery yesterday, which we also kind of knew was going to be happening all day because Kevin Nash tweeted out earlier that he was on life support and they were going to pull him off life support when once his family got a chance to gather to be with him at the end there. So it really sucks. Scott Hall is one of the most for those that aren't familiar with the ins and outs of professional wrestling. Scott Hall is probably the most talented guy that never quite made it to like the tip top of the industry. Like he was never a world champion in any of the major federations, but he still had a huge impact on professional wrestling for a variety of different reasons. Not only because he was one of the guys that came to WCW to start the NWO, which changed professional wrestling forever. He's often credited as being the guy who came up with the NWO concepts, or at least a great part of that. Credited with the guy that came up with the Sting Crow gimmick for Sting, and a guy that was really good at making other wrestlers look amazingly talented.
Everyone's got their favorite from the different eras of pro wrestling. In the 80s, I was a Macho Man guy. In the early 90s, Razor Ramon was my favorite wrestler because I thought he was just so fucking cool. He was just cool, man. Like he oozed a certain that character and Scott Hall in general oozed a certain confidence when he got in that ring. And he was like untouchable. He was untouchable, dude. And he was a huge guy, right? Like he was tall, but he wasn't like overly muscular, so he didn't look like a
He was
freak.
lean. In fact, I would argue he was like super lean for a guy that's 6'7" or whatever he
Yeah,
was.
man. Like he was so fucking cool. Look, when I was younger, I didn't know. I thought this dude was from Cuba, yo. Like this horrendous accent. This horrendous accent I 100% bought into because I was just in love with Razor Ramon. I thought he was so goddamn cool. When he and I like the outsiders, right? I like Kevin Nash. I think he was an alright dude, but like nah, between the two of them, like you came there for Scott Hall,
Mm-hmm.
and when they came out when he was raised Ramon, I will always remember what he did for Sean Waltman as the Lightning Kid and then the 1-2-3 Kid.
Mm-hmm.
When Sean Waltman got that pin on him, and Razor Ramon bounced up and he's just like, what? like like it was, but that's the type of stuff that he would do for people, right? Like, and when he came out that night, and he was basically like, you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. And he still had a little bit of that horrendous accent. You know what I mean? Like it was so cool, man, because he had what is quite possibly my favorite finisher of all time,
Mm-hmm.
the Razor's Edge powerbomb. And it looked magnificent on when he did it because the dude is gigantic. Like you
Mm-hmm.
see other people do it, right? And it's like, okay, but like I feel like if you can just kind of wiggle, you can touch your feet can touch the ground and you'll be fine. Like, nah, when Razor Ramon put you up there, you were fucking up there, man. And a little I mean, I guess it's a well-known fact. When he did, that was the most protected finisher when he did it. Because nobody kicked out of it, and if he was scheduled to lose a match, he just wouldn't do it.
Yep,
he just wouldn't do it.
That's why I said and because he lost a fair amount, like he was one of the rarest sights to see, as well.
Yeah,
like
man.
You didn't see it all the time when it got busted out, which again by today's standards is crazy because you see like multiple finishers a match all the time. It seems like anymore nowadays.
Right. Like people have two different finishers because the first finisher is their main finisher. That's the one that you can, go ahead and kick out of the, phenomenal forearm. But I'm going to do the Styles Clash now. So you can't kick out of that until you do at a pay-per-view. Like, all right. Yeah, man. Scott Hall, 63 is so young, man. 63 is so young. And like he had his demons and I'm not here right now to condemn. As far as I know, like the dude wasn't like a total bastard, right? But he had his demons, man, and it seemed like everything was kind of getting back on track, and it's a really good redemption story, and everybody loves a redemption story, especially wrestling fans, because like we grew up with these guys, man, and they do all this stuff. Like it's cliche, but like they put their bodies on the line for our entertainment, but they do. And it's a hard business, man. I remember Roddy Piper saying once that wrestling has a tremendous entrance package, but there's no exit plan. And which is why you see people like Ric Flair wrestling well into his 60s and 70s. Why you see people like Hulk Hogan still making appearances and trying, because like they don't have anything else, man. And but we as wrestling fans, we love these people. And this one really bummed me out, man.
Yeah.
Like it really did. 63 is way too young for somebody to die, man. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't like, I don't know. Like it was, I wasn't shocked because again, like you mentioned, like he's had a lot of health struggles in his life.
Yep.
Well known for having a, major drinking problem that, haunted him for pretty much his entire professional wrestling career. And it's probably one of the reasons why he could never get to that next level, because he was, known for being pretty unreliable because of those issues that he had. But it still came as a surprise, especially because, as you mentioned, like he had been working with Diamond Dallas Page a lot to, get his health back and to get his life together. And, him and Jake Roberts were, two guys who, Dallas really helped quite a bit over the years. And it was always really good to see Scott Hall at, the WWE events when he popped out and things of that nature. So they kind of have taken away. And this was one of the times where every single person, like every like wrestler, like online and Twitter and stuff like that, seemed like really fucking bummed out by this one. More so than I've ever seen. Like usually you get like the perfunctory, condolences and stuff like that. But everyone like had a personal story to tell about this guy and, all that kind of stuff. Like even Cam had a great story. I think on Instagram that I saw, or might have been in the fan group. where he went up to Scott Hall when he was, managing a restaurant, and he felt like kind of awkward in doing it. And Scott Hall told him, he's like, no, he's like, what the fuck do you think I worked so hard to become famous for? Like, I love this shit. Like, always come up and say hello to me when you see when you see me and shit like that.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So, yeah, but it fucking bummer. So, it sucks. But it also reminded me why Scott Hall was a fucking badass, and it just really, just from a very selfish standpoint, it really sucks that I don't think we ever got to see him fulfill the potential that was there.
Yeah,
for him, just from a wrestling point of view, because of whatever reason.
yeah. I shed a tear, man. Like it really hurt me, man. Like I was bummed out, dude. Like I couldn't, like you said, I could believe it, but it's not something that you want to believe. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It sucks, but safe home to the bad guy, man. Like it just, whew, damn.
So, to get back to real world events, just like I said, a couple big stories in the news over the past couple weeks. So obviously, Russia has invaded Ukraine, and are literally trying to fight back Ukrainian citizens. Like, forget the army, like Ukrainian citizens are standing up to these fucking guys, and have released and they've received a ton of condemnation from a lot of folks around the world. That includes a shitload of companies, and the gaming industry is no exception. EA, Ubisoft, Microsoft, CD Projekt Red. I know PlayStation has stopped sending in, like new supplies and stuff like that. Nintendo pulled payments from the eShop in Russia. So the gaming industry seems like, as a whole, to really be pulling business out of Russia while this is going on right now. There is probably two reasons that that's true. I think there's a small PR altruism reason that you do it.
Yeah.
Also, the ruble's in the fucking shitter right now, so I don't think any company really wants really wants to be paid in rubles right this second, because it's real bad as far as what the ruble's worth right now. So again, I would expect that to continue. There's really not much to say about it. I was just impressed with the speed to which game companies were just like, nah, like, we're gonna.
There's a very, very important thing that needs to be said, Brad. Get your politics out of my video games. I don't know. It seems like almost every week or every other week, at least 3 times a month, out of the 4 weeks in a month, you bring up a story. I don't know how you find them. I don't know how you find them.
I had to dig real deep. Let me tell you.
But,
Not many people have heard about the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
I mean, is that a plot point in the new Call of Duty game?
God, don't. I don't need to. Oh God.
Oh, I'm waiting for that.
Oh, how long do you think? How long do you think they'll wait? Do you think they'll have the couth to wait? Because remember, they can do a completely tasteless rendition of this, because America's not involved. Like, we can't do the war in Call of Duty war in Afghanistan, because that would be embarrassing to the United States. But we can absolutely do Russia versus Ukraine. Like, that, there's no problem there.
I feel like you can't do it with the next release, right? Because depending on how long this takes, the next release might be too close, right? If this thing like goes away and ends the way that the good guys want it to end, right, with the annihilation of Russia, right, then okay, not this upcoming release, but the next release, right, because it's got to be it's got to be a happy ending, and two, it can't be so close that people still think about it, because then it's like, oh, it's kind of uncouth, right? Although if it's like a massive victory, right? Like if it goes to World War III, you ain't getting it in a video game. But if Ukraine can kind of hold out and be the underdog. Like that's a story that some fucking asshole will be more
Yeah.
than willing to tell and or document on film.
Yeah, I
Not even
mean, and like I said,
shoot on.
Ukrainian game developers have had to leave the country. Like Stalker 2 has been delayed indefinitely because they're just like, we need to leave so we don't fucking get killed.
Right.
Nintendo delayed the new Advance Wars because there's a faction in Advance Wars that is very obviously modeled off of the Russians, and you don't really want to have a game that has very obviously Russian people rolling tanks through streets and stuff like that right now because that's not a good look. So we'll see what happens there. The other news is definitely kind of flew under the radar, but it's definitely in our bailiwick, so I figured it'd be good to talk about on this show. Capcom has added some additional restrictions to official events that people want to do. Here's a couple of the highlights from what they rolled out, and when I say the term TO, it stands for Tournament Organizer. I just don't feel like saying that phrase a ton. So all TOs, no matter what kind of following they have, must get a community license or esports license from Capcom to use Street Fighter V at their events. Okay. Total event prize pools and sponsorships must be reported and must be under certain thresholds that are determined by whether it's a, quote, community event or, quote, esports event. So I guess they have restrictions on, depending on the size of the turnout, like what the prizes can be. Yeah. TOs cannot charge spectator fees, and merchandise based on Street Fighter assets is not allowed to be sold at the event. Okay. That seems a little restrictive there. TOs can use assets from Capcom to advertise their event as long as they fall within a new style guideline. And Micah, I don't know if you saw the style guideline, but it's quite specific. If you read down to the point where you can't even have the Street Fighter logo superimposed on the same block of color as the advertisement for the event. Like you have to have two distinct color blocks, which is pretty wild. And then finally, one of the other big ones, events cannot be broadcast via cable or over-the-air television. Capcom reserves the right to streams, pictures, and any videos from the events. So,
okay,
yeah,
the first two, all tournament organizers must get a community license. I mean, okay. Look, all of these, I understand where Capcom's coming from, right?
Yes.
Like, it's their property. They want to maintain a certain control over it, especially if Street Fighter 6 comes out, and depending on what they how they market it, they want to establish these guidelines now for the future, right? I get it. Total prize pool and sponsorships must be reported and must be under certain thresholds. I'm looking at the thresholds now. Look, I have not participated in too many of these tournaments, and certainly not for money, because I am not confident enough in my skills to pay to play a fighting game. But these numbers seem very, very small. Mm-hmm. And that is 100%. So Capcom themselves can at Capcom Cup or whatever tournament they have, that is 100% so they can keep their winnings low, right? Like
and also to keep their events as the only marquee events, because as mentioned in the article that we're looking at on Shack News, like the areas that are gonna, or the tournaments that are gonna suffer the most from this is probably stuff like Combo Breaker, probably something like DreamHack. What's the other one that happens in Atlanta? That is Combo Breaker, isn't it?
That is Combo Breaker.
Okay, yeah. So all of these non-official but still very well-known fighting game tournaments, it seems like that's what they're trying to kind of clamp down on, because those tournaments are getting a lot of views and therefore getting a lot of money, and so Capcom's like, that's our pie. You can't have it unless we allow you to. That's kind of how I see it.
Combo Break is huge, man.
Yeah.
Like Combo Break, like for something that's not official, it's huge. Like all you have to do is go onto their website and you can see how big this thing is, man. Like it's not in the back of an arcade, and people are just kind of fucking around. Nah, man, it's huge. Yeah, this is kind of that second one is kind of whack. again, I understand where Capcom is coming from, but it's not a good look, man. Like
No.
it really isn't. Um,
Yeah.
they must get a license. I get that one, but like the payout is just really kind of shady.
Well, and the thing is, like, there's really no they only stand to lose here because other game publishers will look at these restrictions and like push really hard to be like, Axis will be like, hey, like maybe you should feature Guilty Gear instead at Combo
Right.
Breaker, and like there are other places that are much more willing to work with these events because it knows that it only benefits the game ultimately. And that's the thing I don't get about Capcom either. Like I understand that there's money maybe that you want out of this, and you don't want to like these other tournaments be huge and make a shitload of money. They're also advertising your game for you. Like it's
Yeah,
not
I
like
mean they
they're
really are, man. They really are advertising your game for you, and especially this is not a good look on when you have the the marquee fighter of all fighting games getting ready to release a sixth iteration.
yeah,
Like it's just weird. It's just very weird. Like people aren't going to forget this, which means that Street Fighter Six better be awesome out the gate.
yeah.
Because if Street Fighter Six comes out like Street Fighter Five came out, people will be more than happy to not feature that game at any tournament. Like, get out of here.
That's true.
Even Evo this year, the main game is dependent upon number of entrants. So Street Fighter might not be the main game for Sunday night. So, all right, man. Like you gonna fuck around and find out, man.
So more on this as it develops. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more noise about that as time goes along. But just like you said, it's just not a good look for Capcom. Very quickly, the post office. We won't spend a ton of time here. Phil Wander says, "What is the best controller you've ever played for fighting games?" As longtime listeners in the show know, I'm a fighting stick guy. So I still have my PS3, the Street Fighter 4 tournament, the Mad Catz. I think it was the TE fight stick that I tricked out and made my own, and that still works just fine for me.
I never got the muscle memory for fighting with a stick. I always use a pad. Again, I'm bad at games, guys. I'm a pad player. Um, I and the PlayStation brand of the PlayStation family of controllers are the ones that I use for all fighting games. I tried playing on an Xbox, it doesn't work. I tried playing on an Xbox with multiple different types of games. Like I played Tekken via Tekken Claw, right?
Mm.
Like I hold it like this and then tap like that. Um, I can't do it with an Xbox controller. It doesn't feel right. Like the buttons aren't in a they don't feel like they're in a perfect um uh night at a perfect perpendicular angle. Like it just the way the curvature of the controller is, it doesn't work for that. So PlayStation all the way.
Johnny says, with so many great open world games already out this year, should people be worried that Breath of the Wild 2 will not live up to the hype?
Um you know, I did not get into Breath of the Wild. I didn't. There was just something about it. I don't know if I'm just kind of over the Legend of Zelda as a series.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if it's because it was something so brand new. I don't know if it's because I just didn't give it a chance. But I couldn't get into Breath. I don't know why I keep saying Breath of the Wild. Um, I couldn't get into Breath of the Wild. So I'm not necessarily hyped for a sequel.
Hmm.
Um, but it's my understanding that literally everyone but me loves that game. So I
I
don't.
like Breath of the Wild. I mean, I put 40 hours into it. I never beat it. It was fine. Like I enjoyed exploring it. I think the game will live up to the hype fine. I think that it could be disappointing if if it's too samey to Breath of the Wild. Like they have to have some new shit in the game to really get people enthused. And I think what that thing should be is more of the traditional Zelda style dungeons. Like the shrines were cool, But they only had like 4 dungeons in the game. Like even I didn't beat the game, but I don't even think Hyrule Castle was a proper dungeon. Like I think that was literally just kind of walk in the door and then boss fight against Ganon. Essentially, I think getting there was the dungeon essentially. So they only had like 4 dungeons with like the great beasts or the animals, whatever the fuck they were. So I think more proper dungeons would be what folks are looking for from Breath of the Wild 2. But I think it'll be fine as far as the hype level goes. And then finally, Trey asked, "What is the over/under on the FGC think pieces being made with the newfound appreciation for Tournament Fighters, which is the terrible TMNT fighting game that's getting a second life because of this Cowabunga collection that's coming out on these consoles?" Man, no one's gonna give a shit about fucking Tournament Fighters. Yeah. Like that game is fun to fuck around with on a couch with somebody. But it is not a serious fighting game, and nor should it be treated as such.
I would love a serious Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fighting game, but no, this ain't it. This ain't it. Just because I like the property, but this ain't it. So I don't think anybody really cares.
No, I don't think anyone's gonna give a shit. So that is it for this week's show. Thank you guys very much for submitting your questions to the post office, which you can do at densepixels.com/fans by joining our Discord. Go to youtube.com/densepixels, subscribe there, as well as subscribing to the podcast wherever you download fine podcasts, and then subscribe to all the Twitch channels, twitch.tv/densepixels. I am also findable at densepixels. Brad, Terrence is Apparition 410, Carrie is Suffix Carrie. And that is it. We will be back next week with probably even more Elden Ring talk.
Yeah, get ready.
And folks, maybe some news.
Get ready. See ya.
See ya.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.